We've been doing participatory budgeting since 2008, so we started off with quite a big campaign that we did with about £5 million budget. And it was very much a campaign because it was really the kind of principles behind why we were doing it was around participation and kind of helping communities to get onto the cohesion agenda. And we had a very successful campaign. We did it for 2 years, as I said. It was very much led and influenced by the members. The councillors were quite important in that. But now we're trying to look at how we can take participatory budgeting or local budgets into the mainstream. So seeing if we can actually connect it to the work we're doing around things like localisation and local service provision, but also working with mainstream contracts and seeing if we can apply local budgets to that work. The three things that we're doing is we're doing a budget congress, which is working with local leaders and helping to inform them and give them the tools to be able to understand how our budgets work, what are the cuts that we're having to make, and not just across the council, but across the council, the police and the health service as well, so the key public agencies. Then we're also doing some work with neighbourhood agreements, which is recognising that people want to engage at a micro level and enabling local residents to get involved in setting service standards, and whether by applying service standards and engaging residents in co-production, so they're helping to design those services, whether we can make savings and how those savings might be reinvested into that local community through local budgets. And then the third thing we're doing is working with local contracts that we could put out to local community that they could then engage in and vote in, so maybe the youth contracts or maybe even the funding that we use for sort of the community chest pot, for example, but those ideas we're still exploring at the moment. You do have to be really clear about why you're doing it in the first place, so you're not confusing residents themselves. But also, for us, the key learning has been around whether you can measure the outcomes. So all of the work that we're doing at the minute, particularly around localisation and local budgets, we're putting in a performance framework around it so we can see the business value in what we're doing and what residents might be doing with us. So that's quite an important sort of learning we've had and things we're developing in the future. I think the other thing is that we're preparing ourselves for the localisation and localism bill that's coming through and what implications that has for us as a borough and for our residents, and making sure that they're ready to engage in that process. So one of the learnings I think for us has been that we were focused on the money, so we kind of did the big bang thing, which was £5 million over 2 years, big campaign, and although I think it was very effective and it was very good at engaging participants, etc., and getting people to participate, it's not really about the big budgets. It's actually more about how you get meaningful engagement and participation. And I think it's much better to do it on a smaller scale, but do it through mainstream budgets, which are more sustainable than to have kind of grant pots that you use as one-offs. I think the experience I got from being at the participatory events and seeing the level of discussion and dialogue that people had with each other, and also the consideration people gave to each other's projects and to each other's ideas, and the kind of level of belonging that people got from being able to make those decisions. A lot of the community we're serving in Tower Hamlets don't feel like they're in positions to influence or aren't able to make those sorts of decisions. So I think participatory budgeting is really important in a borough like Tower Hamlets because one, we have a culture and a history of trying to participate and engage residents. When I saw the way that residents engaged in that process and the large scale that they did it on, showed me that it was effective, and you know, they really wanted to participate in that, and I think that's really important. And it leads on to so many other things. We're trying to get people to change their habits, or we're trying to get people to have more aspirations, whether it's for their own area or for themselves. Participatory budgeting enables you to do that, but ultimately it should be about improving your services as well.